So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start working with his eyes. Now those eyes are gonna fall in between these two spaces. How far out are we gonna go from our eye? Well, I'm just gonna skip a little bit. Right along here is a good spot. I'm gonna make sure I make the same distance on the other side. There we go. Now, how wide is our eye going to be? Well, from your marking to the end, we're gonna find the middle. You can make a little marking as well. I'm gonna do the same on the other side. From my marking to the end, we're gonna find the middle. Mark it in. Now, the way that we're gonna sketch this out, we're gonna be sketching out some nice little ovals. Make sure you use your whole shoulder for this, not just your wrist. And it's gonna look kind of like a tic-tac. Just make sure that you don't stop at this little guideline right here. You're actually gonna go right below. And we're gonna sketch it lightly first, because it's just a guideline, not our final shape. So we're gonna make a very nice ovally, very soft tic-tac-y shape. Very soft, very light. See how light and sketchy I'm drawing it? That's how light and sketchy you have to draw it as well. Now don't go overthinking your lines. Let the pencil flow naturally. Because the thing is that we're gonna draw him smiling. And when you smile, you feel how your cheeks go up to your eyes. That's what we're gonna draw next. So to draw in that curve, I'm actually gonna go on the side over here. I'm gonna push this up. And then we're gonna dive down to the lower part of our ovally shape. And the rest of that shape, you can start from whichever direction you want. You're just gonna curve this up and then dive down to it. Or if you wanna start from down and then curve it up and bring it in, you are more than welcome to. Whatever way it works for your hand, the better. Now, we're gonna do the same shape on the other side. I'm gonna pull this up, make sure that he's really smiling. And then we're gonna pull this, take it to the top, and dive down. Now, to make sure he looks like a very cute baby, we're gonna add in some eyelashes. Now for the eyelashes, you don't have to go too crazy with it. You're just gonna go 1, 2, 1, 2. It's not like he's doing mascara. Also, please, if you do purchase makeup, make sure that the makeup that you purchase is cruelty-free. Find the little bunny logo on the packaging, and that way you will know. And now with the eyes, he looks scary. Maybe a little bit sleepy. Why don't we go ahead and add in some light in those eyes by drawing in some irises and pupils. And let's have him looking up towards this way. Maybe he's talking to his mom standing up there. So I'm just gonna take this corner and I'm just gonna go around and around and around and around. And once I have a shape I like, go ahead and put a ring on it. There we go. On the other side, we're gonna go around and around and around and around. Once you have something you can compromise with, you can put a ring on it too. Why not? And then you can add in a little bit of that pupil in there. And if you guys want to add any extra shading, you can shade on that shape. Just leave a little gap in white so you have a nice reflection of light. Okay, so we got some really cute baby eyes in there. The next part of the drawing is something that is very iconic in every single, every single elephant. Does anybody have any idea what that might be? You can scream it out, scream it out.
Ears.
That's right! Expressive eyebrows. Okay, not really. But whenever we're animating characters that are not human, we like to anthropomorphize them, which just means giving them human characteristics so that us as the human viewer can relate to them better. And in his case, you're just gonna go above on this section and kind of make almost like some sound waves. Or just two little lines, curved lines going slightly up. Here we go. He's really looking up. But I guess we can go ahead and start jumping in and what everybody said. Let's give him a trunk. Now for the trunk, the way that we're gonna draw this in is that we're gonna first make sure that we have the rest of the cheeks drawn in to make it super cute. So this part, you can follow that shape. You're gonna skip a little bit, and right along here, you're gonna make the rest of those wavy lines. On this side, you're gonna follow that shape once more, and over here, more wavy lines. It almost looks like you could just grab and pinch the cheek. That's what we're going for. Now, we don't have any elephants right now, and I really don't recommend you do that to an elephant, but if you wanna pinch somebody's cheek, you got your neighbor next to you, go ahead. Now that trunk is gonna fall right down, and it's gonna reach right here to this blue guideline over here. So it's gonna be almost like drawing a very skinny, curvy letter J. So I'm gonna softly pull this line down. Then I'm gonna curve it in slightly more. And we're gonna dive down to our marking over here. There we go. And I'm gonna bounce up a little bit. For the next side, our curve is gonna be a little bit more dramatic. We're gonna go and pull this very close to our center guideline, and then we're gonna stop going out. So let's curve this in, get it real close to my center guideline, and then I don't wanna be that close anymore, so I'm gonna go the other way. To close the shape up, we're gonna add a little knob in there at the end of that trunk. And while we're marking this, let me ask you a few questions. So, that trunk, it has a lot of muscles. Do you guys have any idea how many muscles? Like if you can put a number on it, how many do you think it might be? Yes? 10,000? That's not a bad guess, but think a little bit more. No, 300 is a little bit less, a little bit more than 10,000. Oh, I think somebody said it. Let me see. There we go. 40,000 muscles on that trunk. You know how many muscles we have as humans? 650. That trunk by itself, it has so much muscles. And you know what's the cuter part about it? And you can add in some little curves in here. Is that if you guys ever have the chance to see a baby elephant, maybe you view a video of it, they take a long time to be able to learn how to use their trunks. Because yeah, it is something that they have to practice. They have to train out those muscles. And it is very cute trying to see them try to grab some water to drink, and they just face plant into the water. That's okay, it's adorable. But once they learn how to use that trunk, they'll be able to do plenty of things with that. Drink water, grabbing that oxygen, move things, throw things around. It is quite a practical thing to have. And to define his face a little bit more, you're basically gonna sketch out that oval. You're gonna bring this line in, trace this over, and bring it all together. Here we go. And on this side, we're gonna pull it in. I'm gonna curve it around, and we're gonna stop a little bit lower down to make it more organic. For his forehead, this area right here, it is gonna be almost that oval shape, but we gotta sculpt it in a little bit. So what you can do, a little bit more halfway over here, you can dive into the side. There you go. Over here, I'm gonna make that line a little bit shorter. And then you can trace the rest of that blue guideline. And this area is looking quite large, and that's okay because, hey, elephants, they do have the largest brain out of any terrestrial animal. And they are quite smart too. Okay, but while we're up here, this next part of the drawing, okay, it's gonna be one of the hardest parts of the drawing. But I believe in every single one of you. We got here so far, we can do it, right? Okay, I can't even explain it. Let's just go. his hairstyle. I know, quite majestic. I know that a lot of you would love to draw in his hat. So this scene was actually from the first scenes in the film. He didn't have his hat until closer to the end. But if you want to give him any hairstyle, give him a hat, some Mickey ears, this is your chance to do so. And now we're gonna start. I don't know if you want to stop right here while we're ahead, you're more than welcome to. But if you don't want a floating elephant on head on your paper, let's draw a little bit of that body. And for that body, we're gonna start marking in the arms, the front arms or front legs of his. And to help us draw that in, I'm actually gonna go from my trunk over here. And on this guideline, I'm gonna pull this down. Okay. And on the other side, we're gonna pull this out a little bit farther away from that guideline. So, the next lines we're gonna draw, they're gonna look like big parentheses curving in. And we're not gonna take it all the way down, we're gonna leave a little gap in there. So if you guys wanna give yourself a little measurement where you start that guideline, you see this cross point? I'm gonna go, the end of that line, we're gonna pull this down. This is where we're gonna start our curve, our parentheses. And you're gonna slightly curve it out and then bring it in. Here we go. And we're gonna do the same on the other side. Take that end, we're gonna slightly curve it out and then bring it in. We're gonna leave a nice gap in between. Here we go. And if yours don't look like mine, if they look a little bit more chunkier, that's perfect. I think the more chunkier he is, the cuter he looks. So just have fun with it. To define what the rest of that leg is gonna be compared to the chest, I'm gonna add in 2 more lines right here for the chest area. And then we can start sketching out the nice little pads for the feet in itself. This part, there's multiple ways of doing it. I'm gonna zoom in for you guys so you can see it better. If you want to sketch out an oval as the guide, you can. Let me show you how that's gonna look. My oval is gonna take all this space over here. It's gonna exit a little bit and we're just gonna curve it out. Or if you just wanna go ahead and draw the shape in itself, the shape is gonna be a curve going out. This other curve is gonna go a little bit more in. And then you're gonna close it up in a nice smile line. There we go. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So while we're sketching this out, let's talk a little bit more about those feet, those paws. So for them, they look quite strong and majestic, but something that you should know is that they actually walk on their tippy toes. What do I mean by that? Let me give you a better example once I close this shoe up. Let me close it up. There we go. And now, so my hand, I'm gonna place it right here in the camera. Let me zoom out. The way that they walk, it's like if they were walking like this, placing their tippy toes on the end, and all this space over here, it has a padding to it. And what that padding does, it allows them to be able to walk so silently that if you're not looking, an elephant can literally sneak up on you. Because that's how soft their walk is. You don't hear the steps, which is incredible. And for our friend here, let's add in some extra details, some little curves. And while we're adding in these curves, I do have a question to ask. Is anybody out there feeling frustrated yet? Okay, I saw some hands. Is this anybody's first time drawing Dumbo? Then this is the best Dumbo you've ever drawn so far. So don't worry about how he looks. Have fun with it. You know, you don't even have to be drawing what I'm drawing. You know, you can draw whatever you like. You can, I don't know, want to send him on a vacation? Go ahead. This is up to you. This is your masterpiece, your artwork. You're in here relaxing, not doing a 2-hour line of flight or passage. So just have fun, enjoy. And even if you do have that near perfect drawing, I don't have the power to hire you anyway. The movie's already done. They don't need your help anymore. But let's go ahead and we're gonna add in 2 little toenails in here. Now, even though we're adding 2 little toenails, something that you should know is that our friend, he is actually an Asian elephant. So we have Asian elephants and we also have African elephants. The African elephants are the ones you can see over at our safari. And let's add in a little line in here. So he's sitting on his bum. So this is his bum. Okay. And one of the things that separates the African from the Asian elephants is that the Asian elephants, they actually just have 1 toenail, 1 toe, while the others, they have 2. So even if the majority of his design is Asian, they actually added into kind of like the African elephants. But now we gotta make sure he can actually move. So let's give him the other set of those the feet. And for those, we are gonna sketch out some ovals. I'm gonna start over here. I'm gonna skip a little bit. And then we're gonna take this corner and we're just gonna go around and around and around and around. Very soft, very light. And we're gonna do the same on the other side. I'm gonna skip a little bit. And I could just actually take this full end over here and just go around and around and around and around. So this that we're seeing is the pad underneath on that feet. So you can trace this a little bit better, but we're gonna turn these into an iron shape. What do I mean by that? Well, you're gonna take this oval, and on the top, you're gonna bring it up, and kind of bring it in. And then you're gonna stop. Let's do something quite similar on the other side. We're gonna mark this better. Then we're gonna pull this up. Here we go. To make sure that that's going back to the rest of the body, I'm gonna extend this up, extend it up, and we gotta connect it to the rest of the bum. So I'm just gonna pull this in and pull this out. Okay, to really make sure that he's sitting down, we gotta add in a little bit, I like to say, a little bit of a knee line in there. For that knee line, I'm just gonna go a little bit in, curve it up, and dive down. There we go. Let's go on the other side. We're gonna curve this up and dive down. And now you can add in those extra details like the toenails, a little bit of the wrinkles. But once you have those nice little toenails in there, and you got all those wrinkles drawn in, my friends. Believe it or not, you are done. Yes, you drew Dumbo! The falling elephant! No? Is he missing something? What? I couldn't hear that well. Ears, ears. We gotta make sure that he is the flying elephant, and those ears are gonna be big, because even though with Asian elephants, their ears are actually smaller than the African ones, but his are quite special. They take all this space over here. You're welcome. So let's go ahead and start sculpting this in. I'm gonna start by these Walt guidelines. Let's go ahead, let me zoom out a little bit more. We're gonna make a letter C. Let's make another letter C, facing the other way over here. Now the way that we're gonna sculpt these ears in, we're gonna go from the top of the forehead, we're gonna bring the line going up, it's gonna reach the top, and then it's gonna bounce down to your letter C. So let's go over this one more time. On this side, it is gonna be easier for me to actually go from that letter C. I'm gonna bring it to the top, and then I'm gonna dive down into the forehead area. There we go. Once you have that big curve going in, the rest of the body of that ear. You're gonna curve it in, you're gonna pull it down, and then you're gonna bring it back to this blue guideline. And we're gonna bring it right back up. Almost like a butterfly wing, but a very stylized one. So I'm gonna bring this in a little bit, and then I don't wanna go to the side anymore, so I'm just gonna pull down. I'm gonna curve it out and bring it down. And don't worry if this part of the drawing has a bunch of lines. Remember, this is a sketch. It's meant to be sketchy. It can even be a little bit shady. That is perfectly fine. We just want to sculpt it in, have a feel for it. Now, this shape that you drew over here, we're going to do the same thing on the other side, just facing the other way. And while we're marking this ear better, let's talk a little bit more about those ears. Something that is really great is that for an African elephant, if you get the chance to see them, there's actually a picture of one on the mural over there. But if you go on our safaris and you get to see those elephants, you're gonna notice that their ear shape, it looks like the continent of Africa, which is really neat. Not only that, something really cool about those big ears is that in those warm weathers, these ears actually help them be able to cool themselves down. It does a technique known as thermal regulation, which means the ability to control your body's temperature. A lot of animals, they have the ability to do this, but they do it in different ways. For the elephants, what they do is that they just flap those ears, and that way they can cool themselves down, almost like a hand fan. Now, to really make sure he can hear us, the last thing we're gonna add in is to define the inside of the ear from the outside of the ear. And to do so, I'm just gonna go from my letter C once more. We're gonna pull this up and go parallel with your line. Just make sure that once you're getting closer to the base, you're gonna take it a little bit wider. There we go. And another thing is that those ears, they're quite sensitive. The most sensitive areas on an elephant is going to be those big ears, but also their eyes. And learning about this actually helps us a lot. How so? Well, let me tell you a little bit about a project that we have been helping out over in Africa. So, with the farmers over there, they were having some big problems with elephants because they would have all their farm area all set up, and then the elephants from far away would look at that area and would think, okay, we got a free buffet, let me go and sample out that food. And sadly, because of that, the farmers trying to protect their farm, the elephants would end up getting hurt, but also the farmers would end up losing out on their crops. So we figure out something incredible. Because of the sensibility of those ears, something that elephants do not like, what do you guys think it might be? Bees, that's right, they do not like bees. And if one of them gets stung by a bee, they actually notify all the other elephants in the area, hey, don't go near that area, there are some bees over there. So what we ended up helping out is creating beehives and bee area settlements to put around the farm, like a nice little protection. And that helped keep out the elephants, keep them safe, but also keep safe everything that the farmers were working on. And not only that, we added a new income for those farmers because they could harvest that honey. If you guys want to see that how that beehive would look like, that bee house, we actually have one on the corner. Once you go down this hallway, you'll see it on the corner. Feel free to ask the cast member. So this is known as the Elephants and Bee Projects. And it is one of the many projects that we work with the Disney Conservation Fund. So if you guys want to give any quick shading, you can use the side of your pencil and quickly shade it in. Maybe a little bit of a shadow if you want. So if you guys want to help out with projects such as these, you can always donate to the Disney Conservation Fund. Ways that you can donate, you can round up to the nearest dollar at any of our merchandise location. You can even make a wish right here at our wishing well. Or you can get a specialty coffee over at Creature Comforts or Starbucks. They can tell you more about that over there. And if you guys just want to get better at drawing, I highly recommend be like our first female animator, Retta Scott. Her picture's right there on the black and whites, and she started animating in Bambi because, well, she would spend most of her time out there in the zoos, drawing animals, studying them. And Walt saw her artwork, was impressed by it, and added her into the story and animation department of that film. So maybe you can do something similar too. You can go out there and explore and draw whatever you see, draw whatever you like, draw whatever you love. Because the more you draw, the better you get. And isn't it great you can get better at something while you're enjoying the process? And my friends, I don't know if you noticed, but you just drew Dumbo.